Coming up on this episode of the Tesla Model 3 Owners Club show.
Model 3 updates, of course.
Yeah, and Ken and I are here at the 2017 Canadian International Auto Show here in Toronto. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Got lots more coming. Well, welcome back, and thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Model 3 Owners Club. My name is Kenneth Pecor.
I'm Trevor Page. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. We got a special show for you today. We're here live in Toronto. Well, by the time you see it, it won't be live, but we're here at the Canadian International Auto Show in Toronto, Canada, at the Metro Toronto Convention Centre.
That's right. It's a big facility. It's not as big as some of the other auto shows around, but we do get a chance to see some of the new technology that's here. So Ken and I are here reporting, and we're going to be looking at a lot of EVs. Tesla doesn't happen to be here at this show this year. Mm-hmm. They were here last year because they had the introduction of the Model X, and of course they don't have anything new to show yet. So maybe next year. So we're going to be reporting a lot of this stuff. So, but before we begin, we're going to talk about some Model 3 updates that have just happened recently. The ball is starting to roll, so take it away, Ken.
Yeah, well, maybe you could recap for the folks that didn't see your video about the latest updates from a week ago with the retooling in Fremont and the start of some production. Maybe you can just quickly recap that.
Well, so very quickly, the news broke that Tesla is shutting down the factory for approximately 10 days starting on February 18th to tool up for the Model 3. So that's including some expansions to the paint facility they have there, do some general maintenance, install some of the lines so that they can start pilot production that was also reported around about the 20th, if all goes well. I did get a little bit of a tidbit that was a possibility that the pilot production of the Model 3s could possibly, and I don't take this as gospel here, as possible destinations for those cars to go into the Tesla showrooms. This is different from what Tesla's done in the past because they typically have not put demonstrator cars until production was well underway and they actually had done delivery. So we don't know if they're going to do it any differently for Model 3. That's what I heard. So we'll see how it pans out. But it's looking really good. The Tesla financials are coming out on February 22nd.
Yeah, they're doing quite well.
We'll be listening in on that. So any more tidbits, stay tuned. We will give that to you as soon as we can. So it's looking up really good for production starting. Well, like I said, probably around July or August timeframe, possibly sooner, but I don't think so. But it's looking good.
Great. So we'll stay tuned for any news and tidbits that we get from the financial call. Tesla does tend to sometimes say a few things that they don't normally say in those calls. It's great to see that they're retooling and starting to ramp up for production. Do we think, I remember we talked about that Tesla ordered some parts for potentially 300 Model 3s. Do we think that this run is going to be inclusive of those beta 300s?
I believe that they're going to be making beta cars because they do have to do on-road testing and cold weather testing, hot weather, all that usual stuff. They have been testing for some months now, some internals like the lighting and the drivetrain systems, but a whole package, they have to put it all into a vehicle to do final testing on that stuff. So we expect that to happen fairly soon because this is an accelerated program. So it should go fairly smoothly, if, like I said, as long as they don't have any issues with supplier parts, which has always been a problem in the past. So
well, it seems that Tesla has really taken their time from a Model 3 perspective on getting everything right out of the gate. So they've learned from what they've done. They've finessed their steps, their procedures, their processes. You know, they've pushed on their suppliers earlier. They really have lined everything up to get this going. Because we still hear in the industry a lot of naysayers. They're not going to deliver any. They're not going to be on time. Their track record's horrible for that. But it just seems that everything's just falling the way that they want to right now. I
think what's happening here is Tesla has finally grown up.
Yeah.
And they have learned from production of Model S and Model X what to do and what not to do. So I think this Model 3 is going to be on time. I think the biggest question right now is how many can they actually manufacture by the end of the year for deliveries, and that remains to be seen.
That's probably the biggest question we get right now, because how many they manufacture and actually deliver this year is going to affect obviously the U.S. rebate program, those numbers that are being tracked, and how deliveries are going to pan out for the rest of North America moving forward. So. Yeah. Great. So let's get on with some news stories that we've got. Obviously, there were some articles and news that came out about Model 3 top battery pack options, Elon tweeted that it will not be 100 kilowatt hours
Correct.
as a top. So we can assume and speculate that it'll be less than 100,
Yeah.
but probably more than 55-ish and upwards, something in between that range.
There's
Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, there's two schools of thought on the battery pack situation. What Tesla could potentially be doing, we've heard, someone inside of Tesla some months ago mentioned that the smallest battery pack would be smaller than 60 kilowatt hour. And then Electric broke a news report that they had rumblings that they were testing a 70 kilowatt hour battery pack. And now here is Elon saying they will not have a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack. So if you do the math, it could go one of two ways. If they do offer 3 battery packs, it could be 55, 70, and 85 kilowatt hour, because that gives you a 15 kilowatt hour spread.
And it kind of stays within their numbering scheme today.
Yeah, exactly. The other school of thought, and I was just thinking about this, is that what they could potentially do is have 85 kilowatt hour on the high end, and then the 70, and if the margins allow for it, the 70 could be soft limited to 55, so the people could get in on a lower price point, and if they wanted to upgrade, they could just pay the difference and then move up to 70 through an over-the-air update. So that's possible, but only if the profit margins allow for it.
Right.
And that's very critical to Model 3. It's all about getting the cost down and keeping it down as much as possible.
Exactly, because we get a lot of comments and emails, and we can read a lot of articles about people that they want the biggest battery packs, but it's all about, again, where the Model 3 is in the marketplace, where it's being positioned against other competitors, and obviously they don't want to take away from Model S sales, so they want to position something that's going to offer, from a features perspective, similar to the S, but at a price point, and battery size and range and all that is all part of that.
I think it's also important for people to remember that this is the only manufacturer right now that offers different size battery packs. If you buy any other EV, you're stuck with what they give you.
Correct, yeah.
So at least we have the option of having some kind of different sizes on the battery pack. So that's important to remember, and try not to lament it too much.
And another article that came out from Electrek is about a teardown of the current 100 kilowatt hour Tesla battery pack, reveals some new cooling system, and it actually has a slighter higher capacity than 102 here. But I think what I wanted to take out of this story to share with viewers is that the new cooling system, because obviously we feel any technology that's being introduced now, especially from a battery technology specific, is going to make it into the Model 3. And a new cooling system, new thermal management, fantastic. They already do it well to begin with.
Yes, and JB had alluded to this some time ago when the 100 kilowatt hour battery pack was being introduced, that they'd work very hard on a new cooling system. Now, I've looked at the internals on this because I'm quite familiar with the internals of the battery pack, and it's not magic. What they have done is that they've reduced the amount of distance between the cells, so they've added 12 more cells per module, and they've broken the cooling loops inside of the battery modules into 2 loops instead of one continuous one, because, of course, when you gather that much heat, it's not quite as efficient. So what they've done is they just made things tighter, added another row, and added a secondary coolant loop in there. So it's not magic. They have said that the technology and the advances that they find in this battery pack were destined for the Model 3. They just kind of put it into this larger battery pack for initial testing. So we'll see how that goes, but it's not magic. It's just more efficient.
I thought it was magic.
Just rethinking more efficient
exactly,
packaging, really.
Exactly. And of course, having Mr. Don as part of the research.
Jeff Don, yes.
Jeff Don, a Canadian in Nova Scotia, if I remember correctly.
He's from the University of Dalhousie, yeah.
Dalhousie, yeah, in Nova Scotia. Having him starting the research, I mean, they haven't even really contributed yet to the advancements that Tesla could see in battery technology forthcoming. So even by the time really larger quantities of the Model 3 come out, we could see more enhancements, correct?
They are not standing still on this stuff. There is a lot of R&D going on in the industry as well as Tesla internally. They just don't like to talk about it because it is trade secrets.
That's trade secret. That's their secret sauce. Now, you mentioned about the 70 kilowatt hour mule that's out there going around that we've seen, most likely the black and the silver ones or gray ones, whichever color you want to call it. So that's the one that they've been driving around. I remember watching the test drive videos at the reveal event, and one of the drivers saying, yeah, this is a dual motor setup. So it's no surprise that we're kind of rehearing all this again. So it's interesting. People just throw this stuff out and they get clicks, but it's been said for quite a while. Right?
Yeah, it's quite ironic because over the last couple of days, I've been spending a lot of time actually, when I have some time, actually watching no less than at least 24 videos from the reveal event, trying to glean more information.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, after watching all those videos, the Tesla test drivers were very, very consistent in their message and their story.
That's right.
That they were not ready to reveal any extra information on the situation. We do know that most of the cars, especially the silver one, was equipped with dual motor. It had a larger battery pack.
Yeah.
But they were not ready to reveal any kind of numbers on that situation. The only other thing that I did get that was quite interesting is that there was a direct question asked to Doug Field, who's the chief engineer at Tesla on the Model 3 program. They were asking about, someone directly asked him if there was a heads-up display, and he wouldn't answer. He just said, well, we're soliciting, user feedback. So
Exactly.
that's the most information we were able to get out of it. So I take from that as
That's
basically,
almost a year old,
it's,
though.
well, I take from that as it's not finished yet. So
Right.
just wait.
Just wait.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we've covered, our stories about the HUDs and our speculation and ideas that we have, which it could come or it could not come, but I do fully expect something like that to come. Just makes sense in today's.
Well, maybe we can
day
do
and
another
age.
video about that
We'll do
another
another
time.
one. Exactly.
But
We'll see.
we'll have to wait and see on that one. So well, we're getting closer.
Yeah, we're
It's
getting
already
closer.
February, mid-February.
That's right.
And yeah.
So stay tuned for more Model 3 news as it comes out. We're starting to see this rapid succession now of news as things progress towards production and as chips fall as they're supposed to. There was a story that came out about Tesla owners can now push their cars beyond the factory limits without performance restrictions. I guess people are wanting to go faster than ludicrous. What's all that? Can you go faster than ludicrous? I don't know.
Tesla has been quite adept at sending out some software updates and eking out the software in the inverters and all the electronics in the car to eke out even more performance than they have been letting on at this point. So they're certainly not standing still in that respect. They're really pushing the technology as we go forward. I did get a tidbit some time ago. There's a lot of discussion about some information that I had received that one of the battery and drivetrains they were testing on a Model 3 was able to achieve somewhere in the vicinity of about 2 seconds on a 0 to 60 acceleration.
Wow. Which is
Now,
fast.
it's not destined for Model 3. My belief is that they are testing the drivetrain for maximum plaid, which is the drivetrain that's supposed to go into the next generation Roadster. And I have heard in the past that they said that the Model 3 platform would possibly be used for the next Roadster. So anyways, those kind of numbers,
Makes
don't expect, I still expect the Model 3 to do 0 to 60 in the low threes on the Performance Edition.
It's pretty good, my friend.
Oh,
It's
well,
pretty good.
I mean, it's better than any car in that class. So stay tuned for that. We'll find out more information as it goes. But anyways, that's just a rumor, so we'll see what happens.
Exactly. And we were briefly mentioning about Mr. Don. Their focus from a battery research perspective is to get to a point where they can continue to lower the cost of the lithium-ion batteries, increase their lifetime, of course, and focus on increasing energy density.
Correct.
So how much more bang for the buck that we can get out of these things?
Absolutely.
Right?
Those are the three critical parts, really, is cost, density, and longevity. Those are the three magic numbers that really make for EV adoption to be widespread everywhere. And Tesla's certainly on a good ramp for that, especially
I think they're in a leadership position. I mean,
at this
Nissan kind
point,
of came out of the gate, but became stagnant, right? And others are catching up in that, so with their partnerships.
Well, I mean, the battery technology is not just Tesla. It's not standing still. Everybody's developing on this stuff. I think just Tesla is able to reach lower cost than everybody else because they are putting the money into economies of scale with the Gigafactory, and nobody's doing that yet. So those kind of economies of scale have to come into the market, and it will happen eventually. It's just Tesla just seems to be ahead of the game in that factor. But they won't be the only ones.
Now, if you're living in an area where a Tesla service center may be hard to find, and we know that they're out there, Tesla is working on opening up its service tools and helping owners repair their cars with replacement costs. So my understanding is that you'll be able to download the service book or the service manuals, field service manuals for these, do some probably a lot of the maintenance that you could normally do anyway today, obviously battery aside, but there's not a whole heck of a lot after that between the motors and
even on modern cars these days, there's really not a lot you can do on it other than
Right.
maybe change the oil because they're so electronic. They're very complex vehicles, but this is actually good a step in a right direction for Tesla to allow some of the owners to do some basic maintenance, meaning hands off the 400 volt, high voltage battery pack.
The stickers that say danger, don't touch them.
Don't be touching
touch that
anything
stuff,
under the
okay?
car.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it's a step in the right direction to open it up for minor little things that people can do some maintenance on. So we'll see how that pans out and what kind of maintenance is allowed until this comes out. But
and I believe it's fee-based as well. You can get a 1-hour subscription to the manual, or a 1 day, monthly, an annual subscription, I think, or is that
so
for the
those
service?
are okay. So those numbers you're mentioning
Yep.
are available to certain states in the U.S. where they have laws on the books that require manufacturers to release that information.
Right.
And
Okay.
I forget the state. It's either Wisconsin or Michigan, and I'm sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head. But they have laws on the books that require manufacturers to release those information. So that's where the numbers are coming from. But the report that we got was, and it was from Electric. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Is that they are going to make it a little more widespread. So we'll see how that pans out.
Great. Good news. All of this is relevant, folks, because it may occur with with us Model 3 owners as well once it happens. So now Tesla is also transitioning from the enhanced autopilot, which is where they currently are, to fully self-driving as soon as 3 to 6 months is the latest that Elon has tweeted out or committed to, and that's a pretty big step because now the current S and X's are coming with all the cameras, with the hardware.
Correct.
But under the enhanced autopilot, my understanding is only half the cameras are activated or in use.
That's correct.
And then you would pay a fee to upgrade. I don't know what the cost is.
Well, it
on the
depends
S or
whether
X?
in U.S., Canada, whatever country you're in,
Right.
it varies. But
US
there's two
cost,
levels to
yep.
autopilot. So there's enhanced autopilot and full self-driving, and there's a cost delta between the two.
Yep.
And I think what this information is really relating to is when will enhanced autopilot and self-driving start to diverge from what's capable now, and that's
Right.
coming 3 to 6 months. Tesla's made it very public that they intend to have a demonstration at the very least, a full self-driving vehicle from California to New York City by the end of this year in one of their vehicles. They haven't stated which one. As a demonstration of this technology being almost ready.
Right.
Keep in mind, folks, that legislation is not ready for any of
nowhere
this
near
yet.
close. Exactly. Some states have been progressive and starting to adopt rudimentary, like for allowing for testing and things like
yes,
that.
California,
but I don't think,
Nevada are a couple of states where they allow self-driving as long as you have a license.
I don't think anybody allows full-scale autonomy yet.
No, nobody does yet.
No, not even in Canada. I know we're talking about it.
It's in testing. But it's important that Tesla is doing it this way because of their fleet learning system, that they can capture all of this information, including false positives and false negatives. So when the time comes, when their software is mature enough and they can turn it on, they actually can give this information to legislators and put it on their desk and say, look, we've already have the statistics and it's X amount more safe. You don't need to study it for 10 years. So they're very smart. I think that's probably what's going to happen when legislation comes to be, is that they can actually give them the raw data so that it doesn't need to be studied for 10 years.
Right. So they can get the edge on the competition because they've been doing a lot of pre-work
Correct.
already.
And Tesla's also mentioned, too, that they are not against sharing that information with third parties rather than being a closed system. Tesla's certainly proven themselves to be a rather open company in some respects and doing the right thing. So it's all in the name of safety. So if they can do the right thing for safety, it's excellent.
Absolutely. Got it. Some analysts just came out. This was just a very new article I read only the other day that somebody's saying that Tesla could be a $1 trillion company by the end of the next decade. That's quite the statement. I mean, they're having a great run. 280, I think, was the last close, US, for their stock, which is great. Analysts were predicting they were bullish around the 305, I think, range, 310.
Well, if anybody's been paying attention, the Tesla stock has been going through the roof over the last week on all this news.
By the way, we're
Model.
both long on Tesla stock. We should put a disclaimer on
We're not
there.
advisors on this stuff.
No, we're not.
But the stock has been going through the roof over the last week and a bit on the news of the Model 3 production, Gigafactory, and Tesla Energy coming online.
Yep.
So it's all good, and it kind of mirrors a comment that Elon had made. I think it was a couple of years ago, that he could see Tesla being more valuable than Apple eventually. So we'll see. But $1 trillion is certainly more valuable than Apple is right now, sitting at about $700 billion market cap.
Yeah, I thought they were going to be the first one to get to $1 trillion.
Oh, I was good. My Apple stock went up too.
We're both long on Apple too. We'll throw that out there. Just to keep in some more Tesla news, they launched the HEPA filter. A lot of people have asked, and you've done some explanations about the defense mode, bioweapon defense mode that you can get for a Tesla option. But apparently now Tesla's going to release the air filter as an aftermarket accessory, so you don't necessarily need to pay a really whopping. I think it's pretty expensive. It's a couple of grand or something.
I have no idea.
Option,
I've made inquiries and I've not been able to get any information on the cost of the filter itself. Yeah,
right now, I mean, it's only a $3,500 premium upgrade for the bioweapon defense, but apparently it's going to be $750 US.
Oh, well, that's quite reasonable.
Aftermarket upgrade, so
sure. In the grand scheme of things, it's not bad.
And it's pretty good at really taking out all the impurities in the air from mold, from pollen, dust, all that kind of stuff. It's pretty sophisticated. I have not been in a car. You've been in a vehicle that has had that running. I think you said the fans are a little louder.
Well, it's a
and
little
things like that.
noisy.
A little noisy, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it does work. It's very quick to filter out odors and all the usual stuff. It is a little bit noisy. I will make a point. I do believe that this is an option that will probably make it to the Model 3 eventually.
Yes.
You know, being that this is a car that's you know, geared towards a worldwide market, especially China, where they have a very big you know, pollution problem.
Some spots
I believe
in South
that is an
America,
option that could very well
Mexico.
make it to the Model 3 eventually. So we'll stay tuned for that.
Absolutely. And just, I mean, I know a lot of people that have various allergies to things, pollen, dust, things like that, that can be pretty severe. So this is definitely going to fit the mass market.
Now, well, it fits into Tesla's eco. It's not enough to just make an eco car.
Right.
If they can filter the environment as well, that really helps.
Because I personally find current cabin air filters do nothing, but force you to change them once a year because they're dirty.
I could have used it last year when I was on vacation out in the country, let me tell you.
There you go. There you go. Tesla's also, of course, has a CHAdeMO adapter, and Bjorn, our good friend Bjorn, was doing some testing with that, and he kind of discovered that it's kind of really only limited to 50 kilowatt. Even if you plug it into a higher charger, he tested it on a 100 kilowatt charger, and it only got about 48 or 49 kilowatts.
It is really limited at 50 kilowatts. So as these charging stations start to come out with higher levels, of course, Tesla's going to have to revise some of their adapters. We're still waiting on a CCS adapter from Tesla. That hasn't materialized yet. Right. But CHAdeMO is your next best option other than a supercharger. So.
As far as availability, because they're pretty prevalent. Yeah, that's right. And again, we bring this up, folks, just because it's all something that we need to understand when we get our Model 3s to know the ecosystem that's out there. So we talked about this in our last show. You don't necessarily just have to be chained to a supercharger to get a charge when you're out and about and you're not at home. There are other options, many other options in cities and towns.
As Elon says, if you can find electricity, you can charge the car.
Charge it, absolutely. So just another attribute to the Model 3 and owning that you can get an adapter and utilize other systems. Hopefully CCS is coming this year. I mean, I'm hoping they bring an adapter.
Well, there was a patent
sooner than later.
There was a patent that was released or submitted for a CCS adapter from Tesla, but we haven't seen anything yet.
Not yet. All right. Tesla's expanding. So they just opened in the UAE, United Arab Emirates, in both, I think in Dubai initially, which is a flagship store and a service center, and did a launch just late last week. Elon was out there, or earlier this week. I'm trying to remember my timelines.
Just a couple days ago.
A few days ago, he was out there doing his schmoozing and launching everything. So that's exciting for...
That's a great market for them. There's certainly no shortage of money.
There's no shortage of money, and it's interesting because there's lots of oil around there. So certainly there's a different motivation for Tesla to see a valid business case to open up in those areas, and they want to expand in more Gulf states as well, not just specifically in
It's good for solar
UAE.
too, Ken.
Yep.
They have lots of sunshine in the
They do.
UAE.
I've been there. I was there last year. It was really hot and lots of sun, between dust storms. But they want to expand into Bahrain, Oman, and Saudi Arabia.
Very good.
So great, good for
More
them.
expansion. That's a question we get a lot from all over the world. Lately, getting a lot of emails from people in Cyprus. They want cars in Cyprus.
Yeah.
So
that might be a
hope it happens.
Just put them on a boat, ship them.
Sure.
Drive them from somewhere. I forget where this article's from, but the survey is from KPMG, and it just was released. It's a global automotive executive survey, and it says something that I think we've known for quite a while, but they finally come out and stated that battery electric cars are #1 automotive trend for 2017.
Absolutely.
What a shock. Who would have known that that's the case? Hence, one of the reasons we're here at the Canadian International Auto Show is to get a scoop on a lot of battery electric vehicles, and we'll be doing some filming in a little bit and add this to the show.
We will hunt them down for you, so you don't have to do it.
Exactly. But they track the interest and the industry move towards BEV over a course of time, and this chart starts in 2003, where it was. I believe if I follow the ranking, it was in the #3 kind of interest, and it kind of went away in 2014, being as low as the #10, and now over the last few years have progressed to the #1 spot. So over 50% of people said that there's a lot of stuff happening in this market.
Yeah, this is the start of a trend because it has to start somewhere. We're on the starting point of an S curve.
Yep,
where
absolutely.
You're going to see a lot of adoption, a lot of news over the next few years as these car companies, namely some of the German manufacturers like Mercedes and Volkswagen, BMW, actually bring their cars to market. and we're going to see the news start accelerating over the next 3 to 4 to 5 years, where there'll be a lot more options. And it's just like anything else with an adoption curve that eventually, it's all news right now, but eventually it just becomes such the norm that people stop forgetting it, stop thinking about it, and it just becomes the norm.
So we're seeing this transition away from a niche product and something that's, aren't they just golf carts on wheels, to really valid mass transit options. So
but on my vacation, let me tell you, I saw a lot of gasoline cars in areas that would do extremely well with EVs, and there's just nothing yet. So we still have a long way to go for EV adoption. We're fortunate to live in large urban areas where this technology is easily adoptable for the large part, but there are lots of pockets in the world where this technology could take off, but it's going to take some education and mostly pricing and availability.
Absolutely. It's going to take some time. On the EV charging infrastructure discussion, Shell is now getting into the game, and they're saying that they're going to start installing electric vehicle chargers at its gas stations this year. It's not a worldwide commitment because they have a whole ton of gas stations all around the world, but they're certainly going to start in a number of countries, and I believe Great Britain is one of them that they're going to start, and the Netherlands right now. And as a pilot, maybe a pilot project to see how they take off. We know in the Netherlands it'll be great because they've been leading the way, and England, of course, the UK is very serious about the BEV and electric vehicle programs, and they've ramped up quite a lot, and they're continuing to roll out their own expansion. So it's good to see Shell, a big name, get into the game there.
Yeah, I had this conversation with someone on the weekend, and they were talking, they were just asking me, peppering me with all kinds of questions. And he said, well, why don't they put them in gas stations? I said, well, it's already happening.
It's happening.
We just haven't seen it here yet, but it is a trend that's starting to happen in Europe. It's just a matter of time because, if a gas station is not going to be able to sell oil eventually, they have to find another way. And, of course, selling electricity is just another way of making money.
And continuing with charging station advancements and in infrastructure, California has announced that they're going to build another 10,000 plus new charging stations there. Obviously, California is one of the leading states in the U.S.
50% of all EV sales in the U.S. are in California alone.
50%?
50%.
I didn't know that number.
Yeah, it just came out.
Wow. So there's a funding from a bunch of different utilities that they're pooling their money together to build these 10,000 plus charging stations. They don't say in the article what level they are, but we will guess that they will be at least level 2 to level 3.
Oh, absolutely. At minimum,
they
level 2.
They have to be. So there was an update on the charging corridors as well in the U.S. This is something that the Obama administration had started from a federal push perspective to work with the states in building these heavily transited highway corridors that you can get crisscross the states from. So like your Route 66s and things like that, I-75s and these kind of highways where they want to focus on putting a charging station every 50 miles so that nobody will have range anxiety. Because again, we're seeing this, small steps to get to a point where we're going to see a charging station as prevalent as gas stations eventually.
That's the goal.
And the feds are putting money behind this. They're well on their way now with a lot of the states that have adopted these, and construction has started. Hopefully the Trump administration will continue on with this program because it seems to have a very high uptake, and everybody's pretty excited about it. And for world expansion, a couple of articles came out. So Australia finally is getting more infrastructure. They're getting 3 supercharging stations. There's a route that goes from the Big Banana, I love that, Model Farm, and Macadamia Castle. Those are 3 locations for Tesla superchargers that they're going to be building.
I haven't visited those places.
If you know where these are, send us a picture on our email. We'd love to see what those pictures, especially the Big Banana. Just lots of fun stuff there. It just shows that Tesla is continuing to put their expansion and focus on assisting their clients where they're needing that, right? Which is great. And also in Taiwan. So first batch of Tesla vehicles were delivered now and opens in Taipei, in the capital city in Taiwan.
Well, it's part of the expansion, so they are starting to open.
And I think we've got a couple of emails in the past or inquiries from there, from Taiwan. So great. Good to see you folks on board, and let us know how you like the cars, how they're doing. Quickly, there was an article, and thanks to John Dixon for sending us the link on this, but we had heard it through various sources about Ontario's revamping their EV incentive program. So it just makes it even easier. It makes it easier now for us. Maybe you can explain what those changes were.
So this is news that really affects Ontarians. So some of you probably heard in the past, and Ken and I talking about the EV incentive, which is up to $14,000, but there were some limits in place.
Right.
Namely, there was a cap on the vehicle price of $75,000, and there was also
which is an eligible amount. So if you bought anything
Correct.
under 75 and under, you could get a larger amount. Anything 75,000 and over, it was capped at 3,500
Correct.
from a credit.
So what the Ontario government has finally done here is they've listened to user feedback and they have removed the MSRP cap.
Yep.
So it's no longer $75,000. It is now capped at $150,000. So now that excludes all but one.
These are Canadian prices, by the way.
Yes. So all but one variant of the Model X.
Yep.
So that's great news. And the rebate now is up to $14,000, and that's kind of across the board for a lot of these vehicles. So that's excellent news on this front. So Model 3 will fully qualify for the full $14,000 now. So you have no more fears.
You can factor that in if you live in the province of Ontario here in Canada. You can factor that in to your purchase because we get, of course, we've talked about this many times, and we'll continue to talk about options and pricing and all kinds of emails that people ask.
But there's no way that a Model 3 will reach $150,000. So you can count on the $14,000 rebate now.
Exactly.
It's great news for everybody. So.
But even if it comes out at 45 to 49,000, let's say pre-tax, then now you're down to your low 30s. It's going to make
it's really great news.
Very competitive. So that's great. Thank you, the Ontario government, for doing that. And it doesn't seem to be any timelines or stipulations on this. This is pretty open.
No, it's already in place. It's retroactive to January 1st.
Yep. Now we're going to cover some BEV vehicles here at the show as we hit the floor in a little bit, and then we'll add it to the episode. But a couple things we wanted to highlight, of course, is Hyundai's announcement of the Ioniq. Did I get that right?
Yep.
Of their battery electric only version coming to North America. Great that they're taking their steps. I just view it though with a 28 kilowatt hour battery as okay. If you live in an urban center and that range is going to work for you, similarly like a Leaf today does, then great car. Good luck to them. I mean, again, we're always excited to see more BEVs on the market. Keep them coming. And there's definitely going to be a market for this type of vehicle.
Yep.
Absolutely. And of course, Daimler, and we'll probably we may see some of those today.
Oh, definitely, because they're available here in Canada.
They're in Canada. They have announced that they're converting all the Smart brand to all electric in North America.
No more gas or diesel versions.
Yeah.
All electric from now on.
Now, they're, again, small batteries. I don't remember the size of them. 17.6 kilowatt hour battery pack. So, it's good. Again, urban centers. I know we have our friend that drives all over the place with this.
That thing hauls.
He does a lot of work in that thing, and he's excited. So, So I think that's about it that we have for the stories today. We're going to pass on the mailbag. We'll get to mailbag for our next show, since we're going to be getting out on the floor now and interviewing some folks and filming and bringing some more coverage from this year's 2017 Canadian International Auto Show.
Great. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned here. We're going to go on to the show floor now and check out all the cars.
Thanks for watching. Take care.